First, you'll notice that one Evangelion character really stands out to you, and then you'll be able to learn something cool about yourself. By the end of this video, you'll see how easy it is to understand yourself better, and then you'll be able to appreciate these anime characters on a whole new level. Let's begin with Rei Ayanami, the Enigma, the silent one. If you're drawn to Rei, you likely value depth over surface level connection, you find comfort in silence, and are fascinated by people who maintain emotional distance while still containing incredible depth. Rei lovers tend to be introspective, sometimes to a fault. You probably appreciate minimalism, not just aesthetically, but emotionally. Your attraction to her character might indicate that you see yourself as someone who has been molded by external expectations rather than internal desires. The question isn't whether you like Rei, it's whether you recognize parts of yourself in her struggle to discover personhood beyond what others have assigned to her. Those drawn to Rei often harbor a quiet fear that perhaps, like her, they might be replaceable, that their value lies in utility rather than existence. Then there's Asuka Langley Sôryu. Brilliant, fierce, broken. If Asuka resonates with you, you likely understand the exhaustion of performance, of excellence as survival. You know what it's like to craft an impenetrable exterior because vulnerability feels like annihilation. What's fascinating about Asuka fans is that they're often struggling with the precise tension that defines our character. The need for connection versus the terror of rejection. You recognize the painful irony that pushing people away is sometimes an indirect plea for someone to stay anyway. Your attraction to Asuka might reveal something crucial about your understanding of strength. You know instinctively that true strength isn't about never breaking, it's about continuing despite the cracks. Hikari Horaki represents something increasingly rare in Evangelion's world. Normalcy, maintained through structure and care. If you're drawn to Ikari, you likely value order not for its own sake, but for the stability it provides. You understand that sometimes, in a world of constant change, maintaining routine is its own form of courage. Your attraction to Ikari might reveal your own belief in the power of small acts of care, that sometimes love is expressed not in grand gestures, but in consistent presence and practical support. Misato Katsuragi represents something different altogether. The adult who hasn't quite figured out adulthood. If you're drawn to Misato, you likely appreciate authenticity over perfection. You understand that maturity isn't about having everything together, it's about taking responsibility despite your mess. What's telling about your connection to Misato is how you relate to contradictions. You're comfortable with the idea that people contain multitudes, that the same person can be both a tactical genius and emotionally stunted, professional and childish, nurturing and neglectful. Your attraction to Misato might indicate that you've made peace with your own contradictions, or perhaps, more accurately, that you're working toward that peace. Ritsuko Akagi represents intelligence weaponized against itself. If you're drawn to Ritsuko, you likely respect analytical minds and technique mastery. You understand that intelligence doesn't inoculate against emotional vulnerability. Sometimes it just gives you more sophisticated ways to rationalize poor choices. Your attraction to Ritsuko, it reveals your own struggle between intellect and emotion, between knowing the rational choice and making the human one. Maya Ibuki presents a different archetype altogether. The loyal technician, the devoted student. If you're drawn to Maya, you likely value dedication and sincerity. You appreciate those who approach their work not just with competence, but with genuine belief in its purpose. Your attraction to Maya might indicate that you value loyalty. You see devotion not as weakness, but as a form of integrity. Yui Ikari exists in Evangelion as both absence and omnipresence, the mother who sacrificed everything to protect her child. If you're drawn to Yui, you likely value profound devotion and self-sacrifice. You understand that sometimes love requires terrible choices, an unimaginable commitment. What's revealing about your connection to Yui is your relationship with protection and sacrifice. You recognize that sometimes the greatest acts of love occur outside the boundaries of normal human interaction, that protection sometimes requires transformation. Your attraction to Yui might indicate that you might believe the ultimate expression of love is not presence, but preservation. That you understand how absence itself can be a form of profound care when physical presence is impossible. Naoko Akagi represents the brilliant mind consumed by emotion, the architect of technological marvel, undone by primal jealousy. If you're drawn to Naoko, you likely understand the tension between professional achievement and personal fulfillment. You appreciate the tragedy of someone whose legacy outlives them, but does so in ways they never intended. What's fascinating about your connection to Naoko is your relationship with legacy and control. You recognize the irony that her greatest creation, the Magi system, contains the very emotional complexity that led to her downfall. Your attraction to Naoko might indicate that you understand our greatest strengths and most devastating weaknesses often spring from the same source. That brilliance and emotional vulnerability aren't opposite. Every character in Evangelion is broken in their own way. Your resonance with any of them isn't about preference, it's about recognition. The characters we connect with often reflect our own wounds, fears, and aspirations. They externalize parts of ourselves we struggle to articulate. So what does your Evangelion waifu say about you? That you're human, that you contain contradictions and complexities, that you're drawn to characters who articulate your own struggles in ways you might not be able to express.